All right, everybody, we're gonna get started. If everyone can just take a seat. I think everybody knows me, Bill Gibson, GM, COO here at SierraView Country Club. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I know the weather wasn't fantastic. I know there were some folks out there that actually played some golf this morning. And I think there was some gentlemen that stayed inside and watched it rain. I'm looking at you, yeah, I'm looking at you. Tonight, we've got some important information that we want to share with you. We have Craig Powell with the Long Range Planning Committee will give a presentation on the work that they've been doing, as well as Bill O'Brien, who's the Senior VP of Operations for Troon, who works with us directly on that level. But first, again, like I said, I want to thank you for coming out. And this is an important night for us as we show you what the future looks like. What I'd like you to do is please hold your questions to the end. I'll do a very short presentation just to update you on a couple of things, and then we'll have a question and answer session. So if we can answer those questions, then that would be great. But to kick this off, I'd like to ask Leslie Frady, our board chairperson, to come up and talk.
Hi, everybody. There's a lot of unfamiliar faces in the room tonight. So I am Leslie Farini and I'm the chair of the board. I've been on the board for about 2.5 years. And we have a wonderful board. And we have a wonderful long-range planning committee. But I wanted to kind of set the stage for where we are today. So this last year has really been a transitional year for SierraView. We contracted with a Troon at the end of 2023, and they actually worked for us for free for 3 months. Our contract started on January 1. Our COO has been with us approximately 9 months now. He has spent a lot of time learning our members and learning how to work with our staff. When Troon contracted with us, we told them how important the staff was to us, and they really took that to heart. And they've learned how to work with Bill, and Bill's learned how to work with our staff. And I know it doesn't seem like a lot's really happened, but a lot has happened. There's been a lot going on in the background. Bill and all the staff have been working to implement processes and controls to run a multi-million-dollar business, and that's what we are. I don't know if you understand that. We're a multi-million-dollar business, and it hasn't been run that way. And the board felt it was very important for us to start running like a business. So we've been working on a search for our golf pro going forward. I know we all want to see changes, and it hasn't been as fast as we would like. But we really wanted to take the time to ask questions and plan in an orderly way. And I really feel that that's going to really pay off for us now. And when Craig talks, I think you're really going to be excited to see what the Long Range Planning Committee has come up with us. We've had some small physical changes. And one of the reasons that that's happened is we wanted to minimize capital expenditures until the Long Range Planning Committee and Troon conducted the member survey that took place. Then the results were analyzed, and then they conducted focus groups. And I appreciate all the people that participated in those things. The board approved an initial budget for the Long Range Planning Committee to go ahead with planning. And now the Long Range Planning Committee is prepared to present the plan to membership. It was presented to the board at our last board meeting, and it was very enthusiastically received. And I really sincerely believe you will all be happy about it too. So 2025 will be the year of physical transformation. And that's all happening. I want to take you back to 2023 because of the land sale. And that's the reason we have the money to do the things we're going to talk about tonight. It's going to cause some disruption to our clubhouse for sure. But in the end, we're going to have a clubhouse and racket offerings that our members are going to be happy with and they're going to be proud, really proud of. Construction is going on the land that we've sold, and we're hoping to be able to welcome new neighbor members in the next year as well. So I want you to enjoy Craig's presentation. Craig is the chair of the Long Range Planning Committee, and he'll introduce the other members, but they have done a fantastic job, and I'm really, really happy and proud of what they've done. Craig?
Is yours? I may borrow it. Serious, it's so dark in here. Good evening. First of all, my name is Craig Powell. I'm chair of the Long Range Planning Committee. I want to spend a few minutes tonight really reviewing what we've done today. But before I do that, I want to introduce the other members of the committee. So if you guys would stand up, Jerry Lee, Tom Nordyke, Paul Chrisman, and Joanne Rankin. And we have phenomenal work. I also want to thank Bill for your partnership through this entire process. There's no way we would be where we are without all your work and support. So I think it's important to briefly explain how we went about this process. It wasn't necessarily an easy one. This membership has strong opinions, albeit different ones, about what's important and what's not important. In addition, we had to overlay our recommendations with a good dose of fiscal responsibility and stewardship. So in cooperation with Troon, and I want to talk for a minute or point out how invaluable Troon has been in this process. Bill O'Brien, who's here tonight, and Michelle, who helped us design and implement the survey and ran all the focus groups. We truly appreciate and value their guidance, their counsel, their experience, and their expertise. And we couldn't have gone through this process or couldn't have gone through it as well as I think we have without their participation. With all that said, here is the process that we followed. We started with the development of a framework. What does that mean? That's a set of guiding principles that we use to ultimately make the recommendations that you're going to see here tonight. And I'll lay those out in a minute. Then we went and talked to the most important people, and that is the membership. We designed a survey that was, I think, ingeniously designed because it was designed in such a way that we asked open-ended questions, but we're able to capture data from those answers. And then once we got those answers back, we took them, we reworked them into a series of focus groups that many of you participated in. So thank you for that, to get even deeper insights. Then we took all that data and we synthesized it into what we call primary focus areas. And ultimately, we took those focus areas and developed specific projects associated with them. And then we developed those into budgets and timelines for integration into the SierraView financial model, and ultimately the plan that you're going to see here today. So let's talk about the framework. There were six kind of core questions that we asked about every project. First was value. Does it meet member expectations? Second one was appropriateness. Was it aligned with the club's mission, values, principles, and even culture? Third was feasibility. Is it practical? Does it meet financial constraints? Does it meet legal constraints? Fourth was acceptability. Would the right people, would the stakeholders sign off on it? Fifth was timing. And the sixth was cost benefit, ultimately, right? Once you answer the first 5 questions, then it comes down to the matter of the sixth, is do the benefits justify the cost? And most importantly, how do you maximize that? In terms of the survey, there were 369 responses. That's about a 40% response rate. It's very good. Almost a third of those people participated in focus groups. And ultimately, you know, what's important to take away is that we believe we got a meaningful feedback from an appropriate representative cross-section of the entire membership. Okay. If you look at the pie of the overall membership, it's not very different than those who participated in the survey and the focus groups. So what were those key insights? First and foremost, the membership expressed support for the strategic planning framework. 97% expressed strong approval for the process. I don't know what the other 3% were looking at, but here were the key takeaways. These are really important. I think there were great insights, and they really helped us to develop a strategy. First, members stressed the importance of an integrated strategy. Okay, so they didn't necessarily, not that they didn't necessarily, they were explicit saying, don't do one-off projects, but design a process, design a strategy, design a series of projects that fit together comprehensively. Second, they wanted us to focus on value-driven initiatives. Do things that would enhance the value both today and in the long term of the club. And third, flexibility and adaptability were also important factors. What do we mean by that? Is develop a long-range vision, but develop one that would allow for adaptability depending on circumstances, financial circumstances, other circumstances that could arise that wouldn't necessarily mean that the club was boxed in to going a certain direction. Okay, and so we were really conscious of that when we came up with a plan, and I think you'll see that. What were the primary focus areas? Kind of 3 takeaways. First, members wanted to see an upgrade in current amenities and infrastructure. So work on what we got as opposed to creating new things. Okay. Second, and I think this is kind of the key, I would call it, I was meeting with the finance committee last night, and the way I described it is kind of the key theme of this whole process is that the golf course is a benchmark for the entire club. Okay, we have a phenomenal golf course. Membership wants to see the same level of excellence across all facets of the club. So everything would be at the same level, the same benchmark as the golf course. And finally, membership wanted to see something, right? What does that mean? They wanted to see the development, the implementation, and ultimately their enjoyment of projects that could reasonably be implemented in no more than a 5-year window. Okay? So these are the recommendations. So we took all that information, took it back, and came up with 6 core projects. 4 of those we recommending the implementation of in 2025. So that hopefully, if things go well, 1 year from now, we'll be enjoying the benefits of the projects that I'm going to lay out. First, the renovation of the women's locker room and card room areas. Second, the golf pro shop renovation. Third, driving range enhancements, including a net and perhaps a shade structure. Fourth, aesthetic updates to the entry, the bar area, and the dining room. Fifth, and those are the 4 2025 projects. The 5th project we call the Turn Complex, be located kind of adjacent to the 10th tee and the racket area. That would be an area that would include seating areas, food facilities, not necessarily food preparation, but food service facilities, beverage, a fire pit, bocce courts, and really bathrooms. An area that would take traffic away from this complex when golfers are making the turn, and also a way to integrate the racket complex and the new pickleball courts and all the amenities that I'm talking about. Okay. The sixth would be cart barn and storage upgrades, where we would contemplate building a new cart barn and charging facilities, and then completely renovate the storage area that's behind the pro shop now. The idea being that we could store and charge more walking carts in addition to other benefits as well. Okay, but those are 2026 projects. Okay, so let's talk about each of the 2025 projects. Pro shop renovation remodel will begin in January with a duration of 2 to 3 weeks and an estimated cost of $100,000. As most of you know, Jim Salazar is retiring at the end of December, and SierraView will take over the pro shop. Those renovations will upgrade the retail area of the pro shop, especially in terms of how the product is merchandised. This is a project that, kind of has two benefits, merchandising and profitability for the club. It's also a project that Troon is really deeply involved in. And again, we believe it'll improve both the experience and the profitability of the pro shop. The women's locker room, card room. The SierraView women's golf program is the largest and most active women's golf group in Northern California. It actually says that on our website. Our women's facilities should reflect that same level of excellence. This project is a renovation, refurbishment that will significantly upgrade and modernize the fit, finish, and design of the locker room and card room areas. Something else I want to note, and again, this is another benefit of our relationship with Troon. We were able to meet with the designer architect as well as a general contractor who are specialists in the country club space. They've done projects like this at some of the finest country clubs in the United States. What does that mean for us? It means that the estimates that we're laying out tonight, the timelines we're laying out, they're solid, and they're provided by people and organizations who really know what they're doing and have tremendous experience building these types of projects. These renderings, again, are from the architect. It's a firm called Delaware in San Diego. They've actually already been here twice to view this facility, to review the plans, and to help bring all this together. We also believe that there's a huge desire on behalf of the entire membership for the bar banquet room, the entry area to be updated and refurbished in a similar fashion. Really to bring continuity in terms of design to this entire building. Okay. Again, ultimately, we want this building to reflect the same excellence that the golf course does. I think one of the most exciting design elements of this project would be opening up the ceiling in the bar area and exposing the rafters in the same manner that it was done in the old oak room, as well as adding the new glass peak over the bar. I think it's gonna, it'd be spectacular, actually. In the banquet room, in addition to upgrading the finish elements, the architect has incorporated retractable doors to the patio, which will really believe we had a really nice element to the room and kind of allow us to integrate the inside and the outside for several months during the year, right? We were talking about, maybe bringing music out into the patio and everyone could enjoy that. Be pretty fun. So the schedule, for 2025, on Monday, we hope to start the design and the MEP, which is mechanical, electrical, plumbing, drawings for the locker room and the entry bar area. By December 1st, which is only about a week later, Bill's got to finalize the design and send the bid package for the pro shop renovation, because that has to start about 30 days after that. On January 15th, we hope to begin the pickleball court construction. It's one thing I didn't mention, but the construction, the wrong gauge, you're right. Yeah. We're in a time warp, which we're getting bigger issues, but you're right. Yeah, my assistant's in big trouble tomorrow. But yes, 1/15/25, begin pickleball court construction. So that would be the construction of 4 new pickleball courts adjacent to the existing racket area. January 31st, again, finish the pro shop renovation. And then I think, this is an important thing to point out. We, by October 1st of 25, by the way, we got the date right about now.
Yes.
What we want to do is be in a position where we can evaluate the financial feasibility for the turn project and also the cart barn storage area. What does that mean? A lot of things. We'll be able to evaluate, performance of the designer, the architect, see what the impact is to this space, the impact to membership as a result of those, new features that we have, in addition to the pickleball courts and the new pro shop, and see, what kind of position we are in financially, as well as what kind of appetite we have for those additional projects. The idea would be to do that, sometime early in the fourth quarter of 2025. If we did decide to go forward, then we could begin the implementation of the design process for those, so that hopefully those could get started no later than the second quarter of 2026. And then finally, by the beginning of November, completion of the locker room and the entry bar. I know there's questions about that. Those projects have about an 80 to 90 day duration. When will they be scheduled? That's going to take some logistics and some coordination in terms of what is the right time to do those while minimizing impact to the club, to events that are scheduled, and to membership. And so I think that's something that we'll probably leave to Bill and the staff to coordinate to decide when the optimal times to do that are. First thing we need to do is make sure that we have a solid design and that all of the elements are in place, so that when we do begin construction, it goes seamlessly and we hit that 80 to 90 day duration period. Finally, what are the financial and budget considerations? Here's the good news, really good news actually, is that we do not anticipate, we do not expect that these projects will require additional funds, funds that are outside of the capital budget that's currently in place. They're fully funded. Yeah, so we have about $2 million sort of earmarked for capital funds. Given the budgets that we've laid out here, we come in slightly below that, probably about 1.8 million. We've also set aside some funds for contingencies in the event that something were to occur. So again, we feel comfortable that these projects are fully funded. As I mentioned earlier, In the latter part of 2025, we'll evaluate the following: the financial health of the club, the product progress and the status of 2025 projects, and then, the strategic fit of 2026 projects, including the turn and the cart barn storage area renovation. If those projects were deemed to go, we could initiate design and development process for one of both of them. With that, I say thank you very much.
Guys got it? Stop. Here. Presentation first, which is minimized. Not on the screen.
Because they're not seeing. That's what I shared. Gotta close there.
Hey, Leo. Good, nice to see you. Why don't you just close the comment?
But I gotta get yours closed for a minute.
If this. Present. That's okay.
Good evening. Thank you for your patience. Craig, that was a fantastic presentation. Really excited to be with you. Leslie, thanks for the chance to participate this evening and share with the group how Trin supports your club. My name is Bill O'Brien, Senior Vice President, Operations. I run our office in Southern California, located in Irvine. I work with about 19 clubs, give or take, within my portfolio, and we support about another 50 clubs throughout the Western United States. Been now involved with your business for the better part of a year. And I think it's cool to get to share with you a little bit about how we do our work. So for about the next 15 minutes or so, chat a little bit about that. Leslie shared with you, it's been a bit of a process. And when I look back over the past several months, I kind of describe the journey by addressing a few certain areas. One, that the quality of the team clearly is there in terms of their care for you. That is highly evident. There was an opportunity for them to become more involved in certain processes that they had not been involved in before. And so I think today, more so than a year or so ago, the group's working more closely together to solve for issues that are important to members. Nothing's more important than making sure we sell memberships. Although we're pleased with some of the progress, we're certainly not satisfied. There's some training voids. I ask general managers wherever I go, is there a culture of training at this club? And I think Bill and the leaders on the management team would agree that we have some areas to address in the new year. Clearly, Craig and the long range planning committee are going to tackle some deferred maintenance. And I think it's important that we continue to prioritize a culture of hospitality, recognizing members, recognizing guests, and making sure folks feel seen and heard and invited every time you come to your club. So what do we do for a living? Anybody remember the survey you took last October? Satisfaction survey. You guys were net promoters. Well, how do you make sure folks are promoters of their clubs? You get the service right, which I call service predictability. You hit the number, which I call financial predictability. And when we can do that, generally the club's healthy. So in terms of how I look at this with management, how I look at this with the board is, are we getting the service right on a daily basis? And can we hit our numbers so there are no surprises? Now, this is not a math test. What is service predictability? It's a culture of training. It's management by walking around. It's making sure your leaders see the things that you see when you visit the club. And I believe we need to do a bit more of that in the new year. What's financial predictability? By the way, Tracy, are you in the room? What a special person.
Oh, yes, yes.
You guys got some really good accounting hygiene at this club. And Tracy, to your credit, and the finance committee, is Bob Sullivan in the room tonight? Bob, again, a good group, making sure that we're on track. But part of financial predictability is sales growth. And our headset relative to sales growth is to make sure the right amount of new members are coming into the club. And that we're not having maybe nearly as many members leave the club. And so we have to work through that process this year. And then obviously expense control, which you're really good at. So big picture, how does Troon help your club? There's kind of 8 tenets to this, essentially. And I'll go through each of them for a couple of minutes. How do we help you with your governance? To your credit, you have a really good board and you have a really good committee structure. And your management team is pretty aligned with what club goals and objectives are and what committee goals and objectives are. The finance committee last night, I think, is a good example of how we support that process by way of sharing best practices. And we did exactly that last night. We've done that with your membership committee. You're tapping into a bunch of corporate resources that see other clubs and can share those practices throughout this process. We want you to feel like it's an advantage to associate with our company. And how does that benefit each of you? In some cases, it's about the golf you play elsewhere. About 180 of you played golf at another private club in the portfolio. And about 66 other private members at other private clubs came here. And I would fully expect that to happen maybe on a greater scale next year. We attempt to save you money. We want to neutralize that management fee that you pay our firm. And to the extent you participate in vendor programs, we're able to help save you on direct expenses. And we did that a bit this year. Clearly didn't save very much in golf or retail, but as that transition into a club-owned environment, you're going to see some additional savings next year. Saved you some money in food and beverage by way of these national vendor programs. Saved you some money in the golf course maintenance budget by way of purchasing certain pieces of equipment. Saved the club some money relative to the strategic planning effort. Craig alluded to that. Those types of endeavors would generally cost you probably no less than $15,000 or $20,000. And there was no recruiting fees associated with your GM COO search. So today we've helped save the club about $97,000. And I would expect that to be a far bigger number next year as more of the department managers kind of lean into those national vendor programs. There's some agronomy support, but I really just like this picture of Kyle.
So Kyle.
I'm trying to think, is Kyle having a good time? What a great person. We had a chance today to tour the golf course. I think you're poised for some great winter conditions. David Stout's the gentleman to Kyle's left. You know, Leslie, David's been to the club a couple of times, met with the Green Committee, met with board leadership, and is going to be a good resource for Kyle to make sure the technical agronomy practices are on par with what members would expect. Tons of retail support. You're going to have a really cool open to buy plan that addresses equipment needs and apparel needs and accessory needs. We've helped with designing the layout in the interiors of the golf shop, and I'm really excited to kind of get a shovel in the ground here in short order. But the job we're really in is making you happy. And like we talked about a bit earlier, that comes down to service predictability, a polished, well put together member experience. And there's plenty of resources available to management to make sure that you feel wherever you go throughout the club, there's this sense of pride. And although I'm pleased with some of the progress that we've made here today, I'm certainly not satisfied. And we have to address some inconsistencies in certain areas as we go forward. One of the toughest things in this private club space is onboarding new employees and training them in such a way that they understand exactly what you want. And for that employee who's been here a while, provide the kind of training to help him or her develop professionally. And this club agrees that it can do a better job of making sure it trains its employees far better in the new year. This is an example of Johnny doing some training with the culinary staff. He did this earlier in the year. We did some changes to the menu, and I think more of the same as we go forward. Making sure that we recruit like-minded teammates. It's a process, and I really want to commend Bill and the board and the search committee for the steps it's taken to recruit your next head professional. Jim, what an amazing career. There aren't many words to describe a lifetime of contributions to this club. And you have left this place in a far greater way than you found it. So thank you for your leadership and your contributions if you're in the room tonight. The group's going through a real thoughtful process to recruit your next head pro, and we're sitting at the table to assist in that. We helped with some recruiting. I didn't know if you know this, Bill, when he went on a recent fishing trip, clearly he caught a shark. Inspired by this shark shirt that he wore to a meeting I hosted. This is actually Bill's 16-year-old son, Nolan, who clearly is pretty gifted at Photoshop. But Bill, we're glad you're here. Amy in the room? Amy, you've done such a nice job embracing corporate resources. Greg mentioned Michelle Masambani, Senior Director, Corporate Sales and Marketing. She's been to your club several times. She understands the demographics. She understands this market. And she has, with Amy and the membership committee, put together a really comprehensive plan to attract members into the club next year. And it takes into consideration quite a few things, from magazines and digital ads to member referrals, realtor relationships, and open houses. The trick in the new year is going to be, a shared effort between management and the membership committee to make sure we hit those targets and those milestones. How many people here have referred a friend or a family member recently to join the club? It's a big part of how your club stay healthy. We're really going to have to lean into that in the new year. This is just to give you a few insights into how we approach studying the sales culture at your club. We try to get a sense as to who's joining, who's leaving, and why. And attempt to address those issues to make sure that, notwithstanding 30 sales this year, give or take. We had about 28 people resign. So the net effect in the big scheme of things is only a modest amount of growth. And so the challenge in the new year is to make sure that fewer people resign and that we attract as many as we can to join the club. So this shows you when you started the year, you had about 390 full member equivalents. You're going to finish the year with about 392 full member equivalents. So there's a lot of work that goes into this process to keep members happy. We just need to make sure fewer members leave next year. We track that so we get a good sense as to why they make those decisions. And that helps us address those issues at the club. Everybody here knows there was an expensive legal circumstance that affected the club. We're highly focused on making sure we learn from that lesson. And your management team is fully aware of how to control and manage payroll at the club. We're with that group, making sure that's the case on a regular basis. 2 more slides, give or take. One of the big changes I think we're coming up against is to what extent all the employees get regular annual evaluations. Part of our company philosophy is to make sure folks have a clear sense as to what we expect. From job descriptions to duties, and making sure that each one of them gets a written performance evaluation each year, letting them know exactly where they meet expectations or perhaps need to make improvements. Craig went into quite a bit of detail, how we go about making sure you're relevant for the next 10 years. And identifying not only the sources of funding, but how you're going to deploy that capital has been a really cool process over the last few months. And I'm excited that things are going to commence here in short order. And again, Craig gave you some insights into the strategic planning process. A lot of thanks and a lot of gratitude to each of you participating in that survey and participating in those focus groups, because what you saw on Craig's presentation was exactly what this group of members wants. And I think, as Leslie pointed out, next year is about physical transformation. So in a nutshell, we're focused on those 8 tenets, hence the balanced scorecard. But ultimately, it goes down to that math equation. We know you're pretty happy when we get the service right every day, and that the financial results of the club are pretty predictable. And that's the headset we wear when we help clients. That's the extent of my presentation, and thank you for letting me chat tonight.
I want to thank Bill for coming up here to be with us to do this. He and I chat quite regularly. Bill likes to do it at 6 a.m. I do not. We have an understanding. Yes. Having the opportunity to come to this club has been huge for me. It's really interesting. People ask me, do you like it? And I say, I love what I do. I really do. Even on the worst days, I do. I've been fortunate enough to do this for 20 years. I'd like to think that I get better at it every day. And if I'm not, then I'm not doing what I should be doing. So the things that Bill shared with you, we've discussed. We've been involved with it. It's something that the staff and I will continue to work on to do these things. As Bill said, we've gotten somewhere, but we're not there yet, and we're still going. And I want you all to understand that I'm dedicated to that. I'm dedicated to you, and I'm dedicated to this membership to move forward and be better every day. I'm very excited about the work that the Long Range Planning Committee has done on this. It was a pleasure to work with that group, even on the days that get done. We'll talk about that. But really see their insightfulness on this. So again, appreciate all of the time that they put out. And remember, your board, the committees, they're all volunteers. So I get paid to come here every day, thank you. But when they're here and they're not just being members, they're being volunteers in these committees and on this board, they're putting their time away from their families or whatever they've got going on to do this. So a big thank you to everyone who participates in this process. So there's a couple things I'm going to wrap up with and then give you guys a chance to ask questions. I know that it's a very popular topic right now. Is where are we in the head golf professional search process? We're very close to the end on this. We'll be wrapping it up soon, but please understand this process was very necessary for us to make sure that we made the right decision for the long term of the club. Again, thanking that committee, the search committee. They had a lot to read and they had a lot of resumes to go through and a lot of information that got thrown at them to make the decisions that they have. So very soon you'll know where we are on that. But at this point right now, let us finish the process and then we'll be in a good place to announce what's happening. The other thing, and Craig touched on the renovation in the golf shop. One of the things I want to make sure, and I apologize, Craig, if you said it and I missed it, but we'll work with Troon on the merchandise side of this. So we're again, as Bill said, we are saving money by using Troon for this process. They're going to help us to make sure we have the product and everything. We will have the product in there. It will be ready to go as soon as the renovation is completed. The last one I have is some discussions with the legends at SierraView. I believe I'm saying that correctly. I've met with John Moyer and his staff a few times now to discuss what that relationship is. There is some real estate regulations that they have to be careful with in how we deal with things over there, but we are proceeding on a plan. We are going to be part of their marketing program. We're going to be part of marketing them because that's going to be a big relationship for us. We will be aggressive in what happens there as far as what we are able to take to those individuals that move in there and get them to be part of this club. The decision was already made that there is a gate that is being put in that would allow access to the club through the golf course. So we're working through that strategy as well. But that's going to be very important to us as a club to create that relationship with those homeowners and with John Moyer and his company as a really good potential for us for the future. So I'm going to open this up. Tom, you have the other microphone. Tom's in the back of the room. And so if you would like to ask a question, he's in the back of the room and you're in the front. All right, well, I'm going to walk to you right here. So you can.
Regarding pickleball, how many courts are in the plan?
Okay, so the pickleball courts right now are 4. Okay, and we're looking at kind of 2 different ways that it may lay out. The engineer proposed something to me just a couple days ago that I want to look at a little bit further, but there will be 4 courts. I heard somebody say lighted. We're at this point right now, we will plan to have the capability to light them at some point, but it may not happen to start.
On one of the slides, it said the ladies' locker room renovation was first, and yet it's the last one to be completed. Could you explain that?
So in priorities, it was first priority. But timing wise, that's something that's going to have to wait to be able to do through that whole project. But it was something that was very important to the long range planning committee to put that out there. Can you? Oh, I apologize. She asked why on the one slide it was the ladies' locker room was number 1, but then it was going to be put off until later. It was timing as well as when we felt like we could get it done. So. Okay.
I actually had 3 questions. Sorry.
Do I have to write these down?
So where are the pickleball courts going?
So right now, the proposal for the pickleball courts would be on the north end of of court 5 and 6.
Okay, so from existing tennis courts.
No, yes, north of the existing tennis courts.
Oh, so we're gonna keep all the tennis courts and add.
Correct. This is an addition. We are constructing these courts.
Okay. And then do we have any concerns on the inside about the permit process on? Cause I love Craig's timeline, but have we already taken into account some of the permits?
So we have people that know about this better than I do. In the designers and the contractors, and they will handle whatever that has to be. The permit process may or may not be more. It may not have to exist as much as you think, because we're not moving any walls. We're just renovating a couple of rooms.
Like that. And then the last question is, because we don't have a lot of transparency on it, who's on the board?
Oh,
I mean,
Okay.
we always talk about the board, but and it's not, I just like Leslie, that was the first time I'd ever put a face to a name or, I mean, who's on the board?
okay, well, Leslie Farini, who is your board chairperson you just met. Gene Endicott, who's here, up here in the front room, he's on the board. Phil Bonato, he's over here as well. Sheila Cardona was just here. She had to leave. Russ Sproul is on the Zoom. And I'm not sure if Dante Malvini is or is not, but I knew he couldn't be here tonight. And then Annette Deglo, and she is, she's been on the board for a while. So that's your board. It's a small board, which is great. We are able to get a lot more done with that size.
I have two questions. One, are you going to deal with the air conditioning for the bar area?
Okay, my answer is, oh, yeah. Yeah, when we change that roofing and everything in there, that's gonna change that whole dynamic.
The other thing, the Happy Shack, I know a while ago that was kind of a priority to help fix that up. So that it's a much better space, but it's like gone dark.
So it's not off the board yet, okay? This is one of the things that Leslie mentioned, that we stalled a little bit to find out where we were gonna be, because I don't wanna spend your money and then come back and spend over it. So that one, you're gonna have to bear with me for a little bit. I think it's something that we need to obviously address, but you're gonna have to bear with me a little time on it.
What's a little time? No, seriously.
I'm taking you asked what's a little time. We need to get through the design process on what we have here, address those issues, and then we can move on to that.
So,
If I told you it was 2 weeks or 6 months, I would not be giving you a real answer.
is that
So the question is that we're looking at something on the 10th tee. Does that override the Happy Shack? The answer on that is no. Okay, it just changes what we have to look and what we have to look at. It has not been deleted from any plan. Okay, it's still there. We just have to decide what that's going to look like as we move forward.
So, I have a question on the pro shop. Is the footprint going to change, or is it just being remodeled within the confines of the existing space?
That part is just within the existing space, yes.
In regards to the pickleball courts, are there going to be any soft fences in between the courts so that the balls don't go into the other courts?
It depends on how we end up with the layout with the engineer. But I know what you're talking about, and that if you laid them side by side, yeah, you'd want something in between. It depends on how we lay it out as far as the court itself.
Just back to the Happy Shack thing, I've never really understood that because we have issues staffing food service here. how can we afford to staff a happy shack?
That's a separate entity within the club. And it's not necessarily a regular issue as far as the staffing out there. Caleb's there every weekend. That's what Caleb does. If we get to a point where we have to commit to having somebody out there all the time, that's what we do. You make it's operational. I know probably why you're asking is sometimes there's somebody out there, sometimes they're not. We do sometimes use that person to offset because we don't have people showing up here. And that's just an operational decision that sometimes we have to make each day. Over here. Oh.
I was wondering with the
Hold on.
pro shop. I was wondering with this new pro shop person coming in. Will we get the same service? These guys have been fabulous for us. So was that part of the selection?
Okay, I'm not really sure as far as part of the selection for the new head golf professional.
Yeah.
They're
going to be great.
I would expect that would be why we hired that person to be great for the entire membership, not just for one part or the other. And again, like I said, going back to the interviews and the people that we've talked to, I think you're going to be pleased with where this goes.
Complain about their pro with the ladies group all the time. So I'm hoping.
I think you're going to be okay. Craig said it earlier, we have one of the most active and largest ladies groups. We're going to make sure that we do not fail you as that part of our commitment to you as members.
Bill, someone asked about fencing between pickleball and tennis. And it occurred to me, is there any consideration for sound barrier between pickleball and everybody else?
So where these would lay right now, you already have some sound barrier in those bushes that are there that separate the courts. The fences will not back up to each other. There will be a space between. We will not lay them. That's my plan. That we're not sharing a fence. Anybody else? Oh, over here.
Couple questions. So long range planning, I didn't see anything on golf course improvements.
You want me to answer that one before you go to the second one?
Well, it's related.
Okay.
It's for prospective members. Do we survey those who do not join, why they didn't join, or lacking communities?
In most cases, we will get that information as part of the sales process. I know that Amy does her best to try and figure out because she wants to go back and because maybe they missed something. So I know that she does her due diligence to try and figure out, what was it that didn't make this person go there, or what maybe we just needed to say. As far as the golf course, and I mentioned it in the Panorama article that I wrote, we had a golf course architect out. They walked the course. They looked at a lot of the holes. We are putting together a long-term plan for the golf course as well. So that being separate from what this is, that's more of a commitment on an operational side to do improvements to the golf course. So John, I'll say his name wrong, Kuhn, I think is how you say the last name. And I actually exchanged emails today. We're gonna have the architect come back out another time and look at some more specifics before we get that plan provided. But we will have a strategic plan for the golf course coming in the next few months.
About the pro shop. Other country clubs do a cost plus a certain percentage. Is that the thought that we'll do here, or are we just gonna do straight retail price? So there's some benefit for members to buy from the.
You'll always have a benefit to buy from us. You'll see,
Monetary benefit?
you'll see, well, remember, here's what you gotta remember on this. As a member of this club, you own that business. Okay, so are we giving it away? No, but you'll have a fair pricing structure. Okay, and that's again, that goes back to our help from Troon and what they're able to provide for us in the purchases. Okay, go to Kurt.
I'm curious if you could remind us, and I know we have different membership levels, but what is our membership fee now? And I heard a rumor, I don't know if it's true or not, that we are offering half off between now and the end of the year. And then just to follow that up, are we expected to raise membership dues in 25?
Okay, so a couple of things in that question. First one, yes, there is a current promotion that we've put out using Troon as a email marketing system using their email addresses that they have. The current promotion is if you join B4 prior to the end of this year, only if a full golf member, only as a full golf member, you can join at half the initiation fee. And that's going through the end of the year.
And what was that?
The current initiation fee is $12,500. Right, so that's where we are currently. So the other part of that question, I apologize.
Is there expected increase in 25 for membership?
So I can't speak to what the budget is right now and what that, I can't give you that answer yet until the board has decided that to approve the budget. And there might be changes made. So if I was to say something right now, it may not be the answer. But I do believe you will need to know within the first part of December is when you'll get that announcement.
So the question comes from online because I don't think there's any way for.
Yeah, they can.
Okay.
And beer.
Okay, someone online was wondering, one, if there was any availability for them to ask questions, and so I just got the answer was no. So they're asking me, wondering what forecasted revenue contribution will be offering or will be from offering pickleball. That's the first question. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Want to answer it?
Oh, you got more questions, okay. It's not just about pickleball and a dollar amount there, because we're looking at this from the standpoint, it is an amenity for the entire club as well. So it's not just because you join because we have pickleball. It's now pickleball is available to you as full golf members, as tennis members, all of that. So it's an amenity that we're adding. So you can't put dollars to it as much as you need to put that it is an amenity and an experience for the club. Now, do we expect that there's going to be some growth over there? Yes, because the tennis members, we may get just people who want to play pickleball, but it is going to be a racket membership. So you'll have access to tennis and the pickleball.
And then a follow-up to the pro shop. What's the increase on the revenue from the golf shop now that we own it?
Okay, so again, we don't have those numbers prior to now. Okay, that was a proprietary business. Okay, and I'm not privy to those numbers. I can tell you that we believe that the projections that we're looking at are going to be adequate.
Fair enough. The follow-up is, do you know what brands we will have now that we have Troon involved?
We have access to a lot of different brands, and to ask me off the top of my head what they're going to be, I got to say no. But I think that Erin Bowman, who will be our merchandise buyer, she's been with Troon for a long time. She's one of their top end. She's been here on property. She has seen what we've had in the shop. She's seen what y'all were wearing when you were out there. So we have a really good feeling that she's got an idea of where this is. She will also take.
Not unlimited.
Stop trying to make me laugh. I know I'm done. Okay.
I thought I heard a comment about bocce ball. Can you elaborate on that?
So one of the proposals for the turn area over there would be to we're not just gonna, hey, here's a snack bar. But there's more of an entertainment environment. Another place for you to have is an amenity that would have a social atmosphere to it. And bocce's actually growing in a lot of popularity with other clubs, and they've seen success in this. And again, we're going back to our partners with Troon that have seen this work at other clubs. So that would be part of that design that we would look at to see if that would be beneficial to us.
Bill, I have a question. We're heading into the end of the year, Bill. Jim's gonna be retiring. The golf shop will transition over to the club. Golf shop credit. I've heard different things about the golf shop credit. Can you clarify what the position is on the club? Will that go over to 2025, or do we need to spend it all before Jim leaves?
I would love it, and I'm sure Jim would love it for you to spend your credits with him. But if there's not some way that you can do that, the club will own those credits moving into next year. Good.
Just a quick question. I know we've had a lot of questions on pickleball, but we never talked, what are we spending on pickleball? I mean, we kind of had estimates for everything, but we never talked about pickleball.
So right now, that budget number is about 200,000.
Yeah, this is regarding pickleball. We have a social group that meets on Saturday morning. Now it's 10 o'clock at school. And we welcome all, anybody wants to come out and play. And whether you played before or not, come on out, have some fun.
I planted him. I told him after the first question about how much it costs, I want you to talk about it. I'll go, dummy. Anybody else? Oh, my boss wants to talk.
Not your boss. You know how many people are excited about the plans that. We're gonna look really awesome in a year from now.
Well, thank you. For those of you who are online, when I sent out the email, I did say that you weren't going to be able to ask questions during this because we didn't want to try and navigate that. If you have a question, if you're online and you want to send it to me, send it to gm@sierraviewcc.com. I will respond. Technology being what it is, we are recording this. We're going to try and put it on our website that you would have access to it to go back and see it. But we'll also have the slideshows too. Again, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I know it's not the